of the day is Fortescue. Why? Well, iron ore has now plunged 27% from the 18-month highs that were above 140 per wet metric ton back in January. Why? Well, we've got steel mill stockpiles in China jumping to the highest level since February. We have iron ore port inventory rising in 11 of the last 12 weeks. Also, when it comes to China, we've had the Housing and Urban Rural Development Minister saying that housing is for living in, not for speculation. That's a quote. And Country Garden, that massive property developer in China, missed a domestic coupon payment this week. So what does that have Westpac saying? It has Westpac saying that we could see a further leg lower below $100 for iron ore in the third quarter, and then another leg lower below $90 in the fourth quarter. So, thought it was worthwhile to talk about Fortescue as the stock of the day. David Lane, Ord Minnett, what is your view? Because there are clearly some real concerns about demand coming from China.
Yeah, there are, and we've been quite negative or cautious on the iron ore sector for quite some time, and we've had previously had a sell recommendation on Fortescue. It's now a lighten recommendation, but also on BHP and Rio, we've had late last year, we had lighten recommendations as well. So it's something that we've been concerned about for a while, and it's probably taken a little bit longer for the price of iron ore to catch up. But then having said that, Fortescue had a CEO roundtable last week, and some of the discussion around the iron ore price was actually a little bit more positive from Fortescue, because they were actually talking about the fact that they haven't really seen a decline in their demand yet. Yes, the price has come down, but as far as their shipments are concerned, they're still actually holding up relatively well. But as we see from that share price, that the market's been selling Fortescue down, currently around 23.61, so they're down about 1.5% already today. We still think it's probably got further to fall, and that medium and longer term, the outlook for China is very negative, and that we think a sustained slowdown in China could well be the case. In which case, that the iron ore price, similar to what Westpac's been saying today, could well go lower before it bottoms out.
So that's a lighten. That's a lighten for
We've
Fortescue.
Got a lighten recommendation,
which is a sell.
Yeah.
For the purposes of this program.
A little bit softer than a sell, but yeah.
Okay, I'll let our viewers take from that what they will. Josh, the thing is, we are expecting the price of iron ore to fall. I think that's widely accepted. Obviously, problems with the economic recovery in China, but it is still a low-cost iron ore producer.
Yeah.
And there is still a lot that still requires Australian iron ore.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's a lot of risks adding up that are driving it lower, and probably will continue to drive it lower in the short term. But again, it's such a high quality asset. As David mentioned, they haven't sort of seen as much of the broader market issues within their company because they're such a quality provider. It's obviously Australia's pure play towards iron ore. We actually do prefer BHP, particularly around these levels, for like an accumulate, if any, buy on any pullbacks potentially. As you've seen from the commodity price in iron ore, Fortescue does move a lot more to the upside and to the downside compared to BHP. And BHP has held up a lot over the last week, mainly because copper has increased in that meantime. So there's a lot of different movements happening with commodities right now. Our view would be to get exposed to it on pullbacks, in terms of the impact that the iron ore is having on the Australian, GDP and things like that. The Oz government's still pricing in a budget of about $80 a tonne, which it's never traded for 5 years. But if it does get anywhere near that, sort of 80s or 90s, we'll be looking to accumulate that, but doing it with that diversified exposure to those other commodities through a BHP. Okay. So, not delving into Fortescue just yet.
Got it. Thank you. All right. That's the stock of the day.